this path to finding your soul's path and aligning with it and actually getting on it and actually following it, it's going to be rough because at the very minimum, you're going to fight with yourself. There's going to be an internal battle between your self-doubt, how much you feel you still need to figure out, how many things you still have questions on, the people that you're encountering, the information that you're encountering, whether you feel safe to talk about what you're going through or not, because you're either afraid of being made fun of, or you're afraid that you're going to be told that you're wrong. You're afraid that you're going to be the one person who attracts all the haters. But the most I can tell you, in finally really starting to feel my own throat chakra open up, I still have a lot of work to do. But in feeling that open up, I can share with you from my own experience that it just feels so much more peaceful when you know internally what you believe and you understand that it's not your job to convince anybody to share your beliefs. You shine your light. You let what you say and do just exist as an unintentional example to other people, to spread the light and the positivity without having any need or desire to tell anyone else that they're wrong. Being open to not only receiving questions, but questioning things yourself. And just, I guess, really coming to understand that sourcing everything from love is the best way to get the best results. This is the Energy Within podcast, helping you to embrace your weirdness, find the confidence to be your true self, and fully step into your soul's purpose. My name is Carrie Jokala. I am your host. I am a Reiki master teacher, a fitness instructor, a wife, a mom to 2 little boys, and this is episode 147. We are 3 episodes away from 150, so I better start planning now to make it extra special. But I have had a lot of ideas coming into my brain for things that I want to talk about on the podcast coming up. But I've decided that this week is a good time to focus on talking a little bit more about my path and how I got to where I am and how that's relevant to you, leading into no shame and no apologies given. I am hosting my first big masterclass this coming Friday, assuming you're listening to this on the day of release or the day after. Friday, July 22nd at 12 p.m. Central Time. If you can't be there live, the replay will stay up, so sign up even if you can't be there live because you can still watch the replay. It will be in the Energy Within Facebook group, so technically, if you're in that group, you're already in the right place. However, even if you are in the group, let me encourage you to sign up because not only is that a signal that you are really serious about moving forward and creating change in your life, but, and I'm going to be sticking to this, only those who sign up officially at carriejokala.com/energetic confidence. Watch out for the 2 C's there. You are the only ones who are going to get the special offer that I'm going to talk about in the masterclass as well. So before you think that if you've ever attended a masterclass, a lot of times all you get is a pitch for whatever's coming at the end of the masterclass. And I want to promise you that is not what I'm going to be doing. Yes, this does lead into my first really big offering. However, I want you to come to this to get value out of it and to get something to help you move forward, whether you go forward with me on that journey or not. Because we're going to talk about how and why you can move energy based on a meme that I shared recently in the group that I thought was funny about a spiritual awakening and when your friends start to wake up. It's not worth trying to describe it. It doesn't translate to recount a meme over audio, so go look at it in the group. You'll see it. But I'm going to add in a little bit about that. So if you feel these nudges inside. If you feel like you're going through something right now, or you're feeling that loneliness, or that you're questioning things and you're looking at things in life through a completely different lens than you ever have, you might be going through an awakening. And I'm going to address that and how that ties in with your ability to move energy. And also, just as importantly, building your self-confidence. That's always been a through line for me. That's been an important part of my journey and getting to where I am today. Still a long road ahead of me too, I'm sure. But to get through all of this and to really move on to the next level, you do really need self-confidence. So I'm also going to give you an exercise to help you start really accelerating that journey when you attend this masterclass too. So you're going to get things out of this regardless of if you decide to move forward. So make sure you go sign up. You can either go directly to the show notes and find the link in there. The link is in my Instagram link tree, or you can just simply type in carriejocala.com, as long as you know how to spell it, and you'll see it right there in the menu at the top. So I probably should have plotted out the points that I want to hit for my story in this, but we'll just see what happens. I did, of course, pull a couple of cards because I've really come to enjoy doing that for the podcast. So this one's really interesting because I've noticed some opening of my own throat chakra going on, and this card relates fully to the throat chakra. So I pulled one card actually from the Star Temple Oracle, which I don't pull from often, but I'm kind of getting drawn back to, and another from the Energy Oracle. So from the Star Temple, we got the Mystic, Magic, I weave my magic and surrender to the universe, which ties in really well with the card from the Energy deck, which is the Attachment card reversed, which basically means that you're in a good period of letting go of attachment and releasing things that no longer serve you. So these two together are showing that your throat chakra is starting to open up, which means that you are feeling more comfortable being yourself, speaking your truth, speaking up for yourself, but you're also surrendering and moving forward. So surrender to the universe, you're letting go of attachment. And the best thing to do to move forward is to let go of attachment to the how and the why. You also don't want to be super attached to the what or so focused on it that you have tunnel vision and you are neglecting other parts of your life, because that usually also means that you're super attached to the how and the why. If you are focused on where you want to go, but open to it unfolding in divine right timing, in the ways that it's meant to, however long it's supposed to take, whatever direction you're supposed to go on the way to get there, it's going to turn out better than you could have ever imagined. So I do want to read what the book says for the Mystic. So it says, you are entering a powerful cycle of cosmic manifestation and abundance, which is also really cool for me on a personal level because my Reiki teacher did a card pull for me where she said she could sense that I'm in this period of manifesting and abundance, which is really cool. So I'm excited to see what more is going to come my way. But enough about me. Let's continue with what the book says. Get ready for blissfully co-creating with the universe and opening to receive a steady flow of magical blessings. You are in your creative flow, crafting your magic with joy. In the space of creative bliss, success is simply a side effect. Tegeta, they have stars from, I think they're all from the Pleiades constellation, but I'm not sure. But Tegeta is a star and one of the brightest in the Pleiades constellation is what it says, but supports your surrender to the universal mysticism of the creatrix. Embrace all the lushness and love you are truly worthy of. You are the mystical magic weaver, integrating all the elements with intention and focus. This is a time of completion and celebration. And in order to continue that flow, you have to continue with that surrender, like it mentioned, and letting go of your attachment, which the attachment card reversed means that you are releasing old negative patterns, relationships, or desperate attitudes. You'll be continuing to establish new ways of doing things and relating to others. But also just be aware that some of these patterns that you're releasing could be deeply encoded. So the releasing may continue for a while. So things may continue to come up, which might make you question the direction you're going, but just keep moving forward. Keep honoring the new path that you're headed down. If it feels right in your soul, you'll know. So I don't know, perhaps you're being led to go down this road with me. So come to the masterclass. So let me start out by declaring that for anyone who may not know or may not be sure, I am Christian, and I never set out to intentionally awaken anything, at least not until after I began the Reiki journey and I wanted to know more about opening up my intuitive senses. But I just kind of followed where things went. So you heard a little bit about how I came upon the Conversations with God books last week. And if you didn't, I'll just give you the super short version. Basically, I came across a bundle of the 3 main books twice in one day. And the second time I came upon it, it was $3 cheaper. And it was already cheap to begin with. The first time it was $9. I considered it, didn't buy it. Went into the next antique store or another one shortly thereafter and came upon the 3 books again for $6. So I'm like, okay, I'll get them. I didn't officially recognize it as a sign from God or a sign from the universe or whatever at the time. But looking back, I realized that was a nudge like, hey, get these. I still didn't actually start reading them probably until maybe a year later, not because I didn't want to read them. I forget about things. I put things to the side. I get distracted, and I just didn't. But when I started reading them, it was so different than what I was expecting. I was expecting the book to just confirm things that I already knew, that I had been taught over the years. And instead, what I got was answer after answer to questions that I had always silently asked myself. They were never things that were like plaguing me or bothering me. I didn't have this burning desire that, I thought something was off or whatever and I needed an answer. But I just started realizing like, oh my God, I always wondered about that. And the answers in the book just made so much sense to me. And I realized that these books, for some people, they don't align with what they've been taught to the point where there's debate about whether that's actually God talking in the books. But I, especially now, rereading them and knowing the sensations that I get when I'm in a Reiki session or an Akashic record session, and I know that I'm connected and I feel Jesus's presence and my angel's presence, and I get, the Reiki sensation like turning on in my palms or my crown will buzz, or I just feel like this overwhelming sensation of love and I can feel things in my heart or in my gut that just feel right. For me, I believe that it's God, and I know some people don't, and I'm not here to convince anybody. It's okay with me if you disagree. I have also always believed, just on the basis of the fact that there are multiple religions, that means there are multiple paths to God. And taking that down further, I don't see how that couldn't mean that each person's individual journey, each person's individual connection to God is also going to be different. So things all make sense for me the way I look at it. But I'm also not here, like I said, to convince anybody. Do I feel like I'm here to be a light and perhaps maybe be an example? I feel like that's right. I feel like I am, but not in any sort of ego, conceited way about look at me, watch me, look what I'm doing. But if you've been here, you already know my whole belief there about that's how we change the world most effectively is by living our lives, acting from love. And that just is, by itself, unintentionally, being an example, showing the light, showing hope, showing what acting from love can actually produce. But what was interesting for me is as I was reading the first book, I was just blown away by every page, basically. And I felt compelled to share about what I was reading and how and why that all made so much more sense to me in a lot of ways. And real quick, not that my beliefs themselves have changed. I was thinking about that and talking about that with someone recently. My beliefs themselves, they haven't changed. Maybe a couple little pieces, but really what has changed in some instances, not with everything, but with some things, is just how those beliefs get applied. And I don't want to get into examples. That's not the point of this. But that's really all that's changed. It's not that my core beliefs have changed. It's how they get applied that's changed. And if that makes sense to you, you'll know if it makes sense. But anyway, I felt compelled to share about it, and I made a good-natured but unfortunately probably kind of feeble attempt to do a live video talking about one of the concepts. But it was just so hard for me to explain it in the same way that I felt it. Like, it just didn't come across, I don't think. And so I kind of put that thought about sharing about it away. But then other things started happening, and I got shaken awake at one point, not long after that, to one of the bigger evils that goes on in the world. And that one I'm just going to come out and say, because I have mentioned it before. And you see, if you ever look that far down, you see in the show notes, and you also see at the bottom of my emails a link that I actually want to add a second one, another podcast that this guy was on. But you'll see a link to listen to Tim Ballard, who is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad, and the work that they're doing to rescue everybody, but specifically kids, from human trafficking, from sex trafficking. And of course, I knew that such a thing existed, but not necessarily how many children were involved. And I really just got like punched in the gut and shaken awake with that, and how big of a problem it really is. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do with that information, but it also kept coming up. Like, I would come across more information about organizations that fight against it, or I would see other stories in the news, or I would see certain awareness of it just kind of gaining traction. And it always punched me in the gut so much, and I could never really figure out why. So I didn't do much about it. I did talk about it a little bit here and there, but I also didn't really know, like I said, what I was supposed to personally do about it. So then things kind of stayed the same for a while. I had already, I think, finished reading the first 3 Conversations with God books. I bought the 4th one, put it aside. I was like, like, I do want to read it, but I'm not feeling the urgency to read it just yet, because it was getting much more into universal concepts. The first book is all about more personal things. The second one goes into more worldly matters. I forget what the third one covers exactly, but I know it just keeps expanding and getting bigger on the concepts that it's talking about. And then we get hit with 2020. And literally in the middle of that year, I stumble upon the woman who became my Reiki teacher. I was just scrolling through Facebook, and if you've heard this story before, either on my podcast or when I've been a guest on someone else's, you've heard me say that this is my experience of when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Because many years prior, I keep saying 2009, but I actually think it might have been like 2011, because I recently saw one of my memories pop up in Facebook, and I think it was actually 2011. But nonetheless, somewhere around that time, I somehow found, and I don't remember how, but I just remember finding out that Reiki was a thing, aura healing, energy healing, and I was really intrigued by it. I thought it was so cool. And I found out also that I knew a couple people personally and local to me who taught Reiki. And I reached out to one, and I'm sure he's a great guy. I've since seen more of his Facebook posts in recent years, and I'm sure he's a great person, but he's associated with my grade school years, even though I can't think of anything he ever would have said or did personally. He's just associated with that time in my life. So it just didn't feel quite aligned. I had that fear come up, which was a me thing, but I had that fear come up about, what if he makes fun of me? Because I was made fun of a lot in grade school, and it just wasn't the right fit. And then the other woman who I was connected to through dance classes that I had taken just wasn't teaching at the time. And beyond that, I didn't know where to look. I didn't think about looking for a teacher online. I don't even know if that was really much of a thing back then. Maybe it was with some people, but I don't know. The internet was obviously a thing, but I don't know about much teaching that way. So I put that aside and would occasionally randomly think about it, but never did anything about it. So then I'm scrolling through Facebook this one day in the middle of 2020, and in one of the women entrepreneur groups that I'm in, they were doing this entire day-long thing on Wednesday, like Women Something or Other Wednesday, and all of these women who are part of the paid membership that goes with that group where they're allowed to come in and promote their stuff, they were all doing half-hour slots, either teaching something, whatever their niche was, or some women, like my Reiki teacher, were doing things like card pulls. And I stopped on her video and I got sucked in and I kept watching. I threw my name in the hat for a card pull, but there were so many people. I didn't catch her right at the beginning, and so I didn't get a card. But she mentioned that she did card pulls in her own group every Friday. So I followed her into her group, found out either through that first video or one of the other ones shortly after that she also did Reiki, reached out to her, asked if she taught Reiki, and she also just so happened to be putting together her first online Reiki 1 course. So without going into all the little tiny details, all the stars were just kind of magically aligning that this was my sign, this was my time. And the final aligned star was my Facebook memory that popped up either the day I signed up for class or the day before. I kind of think the day before, but it was the very first time that I posted online saying that I was interested in learning more about energy healing and aura healing and yada yada. So that was my signal that, okay, you're my teacher, take my money, let's go. And something in me told me to just trust myself. Even though in the beginning I didn't see very much or feel very much, I could kind of feel the energy in my hands, so I knew something was going on, but I wouldn't see things the way other people did in that first Reiki 1 course. But everyone was so supportive. We were all at different points on our own journey where some were more tuned in with their intuitive senses and seeing and feeling things and hearing messages, and others were like me, where they were right at the beginning and still kind of figuring it all out. But through practice with others and even some practice here with my teacher and talking about what we each saw during each of the attunements for each level, I would just get more and more confirmation that that wasn't just my imagination, because the other person saw the exact same thing or something so similar that you can't deny. And around this time, while I never really fully believed in coincidences, I always feel like things happen for a reason and they happen the way that they're meant to. I really stopped believing in coincidences. I had to. And because something in me, something from my soul had that surrender in me, I was able to start growing those skills a little bit. I'm still not exactly where I'd like to be, but I get enough confirmation still that the things that I see are resonating and other people are seeing or feeling the same thing, or they feel something happening in a spot where I did a lot of work, and there's just, you can't make this stuff up kind of thing, you know? And as I continued reading more, finding more things online, finding more people who were teaching about these same things and spiritual concepts, and knowing and trusting that it's all coming from God, that's how it's all sourced from love, universal life force energy, I just kept making more and more connections and things were making more and more sense. And right now, as I'm talking, I even feel like such a warm energy, like just holding me. I guess a little protective energy too, in a good way. But as I went through all of this, I also went through this period of like WTF, feeling almost not isolated, but feeling a little bit of loneliness in a way, just because, just like I still kind of feel like I don't know that I have someone that I can fully explain everything to and trusting that they'll fully understand. We come close, I think, in many instances, and I do have people I can talk to. But like I said, I'm not sure that there's a 100% match at the moment. And not that there has to be either, but it's just something I recognize is all. So like that, things like that, when you feel like you have no one that you can fully explain what you're thinking and feeling to, you get that loneliness. You're questioning and or reframing everything that you had thought to be true, or you're seeing the bigger picture now. You're seeing more of the full story, and then you're trying to figure out how it all makes sense. And you're going through then what's called a dark night of the soul, and you're trying to kind of put yourself back together and reconfigure your thoughts and your mind and your body and your spirit. Food tastes different. Food has a different effect on you, and you can't unsee or unlearn things that you have awakened to, and you start to see everything through that new lens. And then even you have to stop yourself sometimes and be like, am I just going crazy? Am I over-interpreting this? And this moment right here that you're hearing me talking, I had to splice this in. So as I record this, I don't know if the splice is going to be smooth, so I'm just going to acknowledge that just in case it's not. I realized after I got done recording that I never finished the part about how on earth being punched in the gut and awakened to how big of a problem child sex trafficking is, how that ties in with anything in this story. It's simply for me in realizing not only what my purpose in life is, but just starting to understand how when we feel so powerless about something, how we help, how we affect things is through living our purpose and being a light and providing a sense of hope and showing others what's possible and trusting that that energy has a ripple effect. So while no, I'm probably not directly ever helping unless I set an intention that way, but it's just the same as prayer, as trusting that your prayers are being sent out, they're being heard, your energy is being felt. It's doing something, it's making a difference. And it could be something as simple as your energy being sent out, your light shining, is going to shine on someone who was doubting their ability to actually go do something. And maybe they're the one who does something about whatever issue it is. So I know that's probably a very woo-woo and very, some would say probably naive way to look at affecting the world. But it's that same idea that is how we create change. If enough of us are stepping into our purpose, if enough of us are sending out positive energy, intending to be a light, sourced in our actions from love, I fully believe that it's going to reach a point where it's going to overtake the world and that the darkness will no longer be able to survive. So I know that's a little bit grandiose probably. And I know, like I said, some people will look at me and think I'm naive for that, but that's why I believe in things like the power of prayer, the power of energy, the power of our intentions, because not everybody can be involved in everything in every way. It's just not realistic and it's just not possible. So if there's an area that's bigger than you, that you are feeling somehow called to affect, but you don't know how, it could be something as simple as following your soul's purpose and shining your freaking light. But the point in sharing all this is that your soul knows. Your soul knows what your path is meant to be. And whether you are intentionally making your way there or just kind of letting life guide the way, if we're a little more conscious of what's going on, that we can speed it up if we want to. Because things are only going to happen when we're ready for them. As much as I wish that by this point I would have maybe 10 years of Reiki under my belt, I'm sure I wasn't quite ready then, because as I look back in these last couple of years, everything that has come after, I feel like it went at such a rapid speed. And I don't think it would have been that way in the beginning for me. So I think all that means is that I just wasn't as ready then as I was when I found my teacher. But your soul is guiding you. God is guiding you. Your angels are here guiding you. And the messages are all around you. Whether it's a message in a song, whether it's a message you hear in your head, whether it's a message through a card pull, whether it's a message through a sensation in your body, a knowing in your gut or in your heart. And I do feel like I'm still learning, but I feel like I can tell the difference between a feeling in my gut because something feels off and a feeling in my gut or my heart or my crown because something feels right. And the truth is, you know those sensations in you too. And if you're not sure or you think you don't, it's because you've shut them down or repressed them, and maybe not intentionally. It just happened over the years. We all have done this if we haven't stayed in tune with our gifts from birth, basically. But I don't believe that we're here to be tested. I do believe that we are here to grow and learn and evolve, but I don't believe we're here as any sort of punishment that we need to work our way out of. And I don't want to get too into a theological, philosophical, spiritual discussion like that, because that's not the point. And I don't fully know what my message here is in sharing my story, other than, I guess, to just encourage you to keep going. Keep reading more, keep watching more, check out what other people have to say, and know that you might find very contradictory things, and you should question all of it. And I don't mean question as in get into arguments with people. I mean within yourself. Seriously consider everything that comes at you, but then start to lean into that soul knowing. And while there are plenty of situations where we don't want to believe this about everything, another thing I believe at the bottom of it all is that one person's truth is not the same as another person's truth, which means one person's reality is not the same as another person's reality. We can use that same example again of two kids who grew up in the exact same house with the exact same parents, going to the exact same school, having many of the exact same experiences, going the same places, and being shaped completely differently, coming out the other side with different beliefs, different patterns encoded into them, different perceptions of how each event happened. And that doesn't make either one of them wrong. This path to finding your soul's path and aligning with it and actually getting on it and actually following it, it's going to be rough. Because at the very minimum, you're going to fight with yourself. There's going to be an internal battle between your self-doubt, how much you feel you still need to figure out, how many things you still have questions on, the people that you're encountering, the information that you're encountering, whether you feel safe to talk about what you're going through or not, because you're either afraid of being made fun of, or you're afraid that you're going to be told that you're wrong. You're afraid that you're going to be the one person who attracts all the haters. But the most I can tell you, in finally really starting to feel my own throat chakra open up, I still have a lot of work to do. But in feeling that open up, I can share with you from my own experience that it just feels so much more peaceful when you know internally what you believe and you understand that it's not your job to convince anybody to share your beliefs. You shine your light. You let what you say and do just exist as an unintentional example to other people, to spread the light and the positivity without having any need or desire to tell anyone else that they're wrong, being open to not only receiving questions, but questioning things yourself, and just, I guess, really coming to understand that sourcing everything from love is the best way to get the best results, rather than using things like guilt and shame. And not even, while I do believe that's a moral thing, if you don't want to look at it from that perspective, look at it from the actual frequency of each of those vibrations. Guilt and shame and fear and anxiety and anger are so low in their vibrational frequencies compared to where love and joy and enlightenment are way at the top, hundreds of hertz higher. And knowing that that's all you can do, and not in an I give up, that's all I can do kind of way, but rather knowing that you are giving it your all. And in that sense, that is all you can do. You are doing all you can by shining your light, by living your truth, and by accepting that other people have their own truth. And sure, I'll throw in that caveat again of making sure that we're not hurting other people. There's more to come on that topic. Not specifically about hurting other people, but just the balance between living for yourself and being aware of how your actions affect other people. There's more to come on that. That's not the point of this episode, but it is always something to have in your mind as well. And sure, I'll throw in the other caveat. I'm still on this journey too. I have not by any means reached any kind of an end. I am simply sharing with you my own perception, my own experience, in the hopes that it helps you to learn to surrender, to learn to trust, to still believe in God. Whatever name you have for God is fine with me. To do your best to source everything that you can from love, and most importantly, to never give up on your soul's purpose. I still have self-doubt, but as I go on this journey, I can feel it diminishing. And I can't say whether it will go away 100%. I'm sure there's always situations where it's going to show up in some level. I've always said, and I still believe, that confidence is a fluid journey. One day you can have a soaring high level of confidence where no one can touch you, and the next day it seems like everything's knocking you to the ground. The important thing is how quickly can you come back up without pretending, allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel, processing what you need to process, but making sure that you're always moving your way back up. So I don't know if this was helpful. I don't know if I said everything that I set out to say, everything that I meant to share about my story, but that's kind of that part of my story in a nutshell, at least. So I don't know, maybe this is just a precursor and more will come out in the masterclass as I put everything together. So if you're feeling that call, that pull, that there's more to your soul's purpose, whether you've started the journey or you're partway through, but you're stuck, you have that self-doubt, you know you need more self-confidence, come join the masterclass and bring some of your friends with you who you know need this too. It's completely free. You're not obligated to anything, and I truly plan to deliver nothing but value to you so that even if the next step isn't for you, you still got something valuable and important and helpful so that you can move forward. So find that at the link in the show notes, carriejocala.com/energetic-confidence. Make sure to check your spam or promotions folder just in case, because you will have to click one of those confirm your subscription emails so that you get the actual email that gives you the link to the group and allows me to send you the emails that will give you the special offer that's coming for those of you who are on the list. So much more to come, so many more topics to come. If this one was helpful, if you got anything out of this, if you had a favorite part, please share it. Share a screenshot or a screen flow with some audio, post it to your social media, tag me in your stories, and let me know. I love hearing from you so much. So thank you to all of you who have reached out in any episode to let me know that something resonated with you. It means so much to me. And sharing it on social media, if you feel so called, can really give the show an opportunity to reach more people and to grow. So thank you for that. And last final thing, another thing that can help the show grow as well and reach as many people as possible is ratings and reviews, specifically on Apple Podcasts, if that's where you're listening to this. So if you have a moment, at the very minimum, scroll all the way down to the very bottom on my show's page and give it a 5-star rating. And if you've got a little extra time and you have something you would like to share, go ahead and leave a review. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you in the Energetic Confidence Masterclass, and I will see you on the podcast next week.